Hi there, and welcome to the first HOI4 Iron Workshop modding lesson. For those of you who are returning, yes, it's a bit strange that I'm posting lesson number 1 again, but I am refreshing all the lessons that I've uploaded so far, since a lot of things changed and I wanted to update many of the lessons which are lacking information, sometimes have wrong information, or just need some refreshing, since we all like to stay fresh. Okay. Anyway, let's get to it. So in this first lesson, I don't want to get down to modding. I do want to talk about the idea of modding and what modding can do for you, and how easy or not easy it can be. And generally, for anyone who is entering the world of modding for the first time and is a bit scared or doesn't know if he can actually do it, this is what this lesson is meant for. In the next lessons, we'll be talking about the tools, about all the technical stuff, all that nasty stuff. We'll get to that. But in this first lesson, this is more about the concepts, the ideas. So listen up, because this will help you understand exactly what you're getting into. So, first thing, you should understand that modding is easy and anyone can do it, even you. If you did not mod any game before this, if this is something completely new to you, it's totally fine. I was doing it when I had no idea how to mod games, although it was a different time and things were much more difficult than they are today. And we didn't have YouTube the same way that we have today to teach everyone. You are entering at a much better time to mod, so you can definitely do it. It's not that hard, and as we progress through these lessons, you will see how your understanding is improving, how you try new things and these things work out, and how you can really change the game to suit your own personal goals, needs, whatever it is that you might be starting modding for. Next, modding is not programming. For those of you who are worried that they are not programmers or that they've never encountered programming and they don't know how to do it, get that idea out of your head. Modding is not programming. We're not programming anything here. We're working within a toolbox given to us by Paradox, so it's totally fine if you're not a programmer. You're not supposed to be. I'm not a programmer. So it's totally fine. That should not keep you away from modding. Next up is reverse engineering. I will be showing you examples of things that I've made in my own mod. And this is quite important. If you see a mod that does something that you like, something that you would like to do in your own mod, or perhaps you'd like to do a bit differently, you're totally welcome to download that mod, look into the files, see what the creator of that mod was doing, what he did. Sometimes it may look a bit weird, or you may not exactly understand what the person was doing, and that depends on a lot of factors. For example, how clear the code is of the creator of that mod. Sometimes the code can be a bit sloppy, so you will not understand what was the goal of certain functions in the code. But that's fine. In most cases, you will be able to reverse engineer a given mod, a mod that exists, and apply it to your own needs. Now, obviously, if you are using the work of someone else, you should definitely credit them. Let everybody know that some of your work, or perhaps even most of it, depends on the work of another person. There's also the idea of submods that are like attachments to existing bigger mods, and that is also one way that you can go. But do not forget to credit the person if you are using parts of their code. Also, it's usually a good idea to make sure that they are open to the idea of their work being shared and used by others. Alright, now a couple of things for you to consider. First of all, trial and error are mandatory when you're modding. Let me say this as clear as I can. I had a lot of rage moments, a lot of moments where I was screaming at the computer, or I was sure that the computer was conspiring against me, or even the computer and the game were conspiring against me, right? And that something that was supposed to be working is not working, and now the whole world is against me, and it's definitely not my fault. Now, I will admit that in 98% of the time, it was usually my fault. I missed something, I didn't close a bracket or things like that. So there's a lot of trial and error, and even experienced modders still do some errors when they're creating their mods, and that's totally fine. No mod is flawless, no modder is flawless, and if you're using any bit of software, and you probably are, either on your phone or your computer or whatever, you see that there are bugs and there are issues, and that is just that the developer behind that thing that you're using is not perfect, and sometimes there are errors, and you will have errors as well, and that's totally fine. It does not mean that you're a slow learner or that you are incapable or anything like that. It just takes time, takes trial and error, and many times you will fail, but there will come that time, one time, where you will finally succeed in doing what you wanted to do, and that will be an amazing feeling, and you should think about that. You should focus on that. Focus on your objective, think how you can achieve it, and eventually you will be able to do it. But you do need to take into account that sometimes things will not work out, and that's totally fine. It takes patience, it takes time, and you will need a lot of patience when you're modding. One last thing that you should consider is that you will need to be creative. Modding, and especially the nature of the work that modding is, oftentimes requires a lot of creativity. Sometimes the most obvious approach to doing something that you wanted to do is not the one that will work, and you will need to find a different approach. Now, it can be fun because it does make things flexible and allows you to try a variety of approaches, but obviously it can also be a bit frustrating, because after you tried a couple of approaches and it didn't work, it can get frustrating. But in most cases you will probably find a way to make that thing that you worked on work, obviously within the limitations that we have as modders. Okay, one last thing that I want to talk about are the benefits of modding. So what will you get from modding games? First of all, modding can be a stepping stone to learning programming. Now, as I said at the beginning of this lesson, modding is not programming, but it will teach you some concepts that are in programming. For example, syntax, the code, right? So you will get familiar with how code looks, how you define code, how you start code, how you finish code, a line of code. Those things can be quite important to understand if you do want to continue onward, perhaps into the world of programming. But as I said, modding in itself is not programming. Another thing that it will teach you is how to solve problems, and this can be quite an amazing skill to have, both for modding, for programming, or even in real life. You will notice that as you gain experience and as you do this more, you will find more creative and more interesting ways to solve problems that perhaps at the beginning seemed impossible. So this can be a very rewarding thing with modding. And another thing is that modding HOI4 will help you understand how other Paradox games work, because these games are all based on the same engine. And once you understand things in one game, they're quite similar in other games. Now, oftentimes they're not an exact copy. There are various effects. The code might sometimes look different, but the general idea is the same. So once you're comfortable in one game, it will make it much easier for you to move forward or move on to the next game and to mod that game as well. So that is a great benefit that you will also have by learning modding. Hopefully you will join me on this adventure as we dive deeper into modding and learn what it's all about and make really cool and awesome things. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye. Hey guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Check out these other videos on the Iron Workshop that you might enjoy as well. Please consider supporting the Iron Workshop on Patreon. This will allow the channel to grow and become even better. Thank you.